Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Let's get into it. Let's talk some NBA action we have on Thursday, November 7th. Now, this is one where I tell you guys, yesterday we kind of took one off the chin. Only had one of my bets come home out of the four that I gave out, or 4 or 5 that I gave out. So let's look to rebound on that. We have a short slate tonight, 3 games, starting off at 8 p.m. Eastern, as well as the NFL Thursday night football game, which I will have a pick in that game as well. So make sure you turn that notification bell. So when that video does come out, you guys get all notified when I go over that pick. Make sure you subscribe down below, smash that like button, and let's get it. Okay. We're going to tune into the outlier as we look into kind of what's going on here. And this is a platform which I use to make all my bets. Really finds the best odds available. Check it out. Links down below for a 7-day free trial. Okay. But this is where we're going to look into kind of the first game on the card, Portland and San Antonio. This is where we have Portland getting 4.5 on the road against the Spurs. This is a game where, quite frankly, 3-5 on 3-5, there's going to be no scoring. These teams have been kind of identical in their own right. And that's kind of what's been evident against the number as well as the total on the season. Now, as we look into this matchup, you can see kind of what's going on in their last 5. Portland just beating New Orleans. We did see losses against very strongly ranked teams: Phoenix, OKC, Clippers. Teams that are probably going to be around come postseason. Maybe not the Clippers, but and then on the flip side, we do have San Antonio beating the Minnesota Timberwolves 113-103, losing OKC, losing the Clippers. That's what I mean, guys. There's really nothing glaring out of the way and out of the ordinary that would take me on one side or another of this bet from a points perspective. We do have Devin Vassell still out and Sochan for the Spurs. But for the Portland Trailblazers, Ty Bull as well as Shaedon Sharpe, those are the injuries you got to worry about in tonight's matchup. But this is something where we look into kind of what's happening. I think that there's going to be some bets that we're going to look into. We played a winner last night. I've been kind of eyeing this Stephen Castle in terms of the assist market, and we are going to look into the under there. This game, though, matching up, we do see kind of teams that you look at the Spurs, 5th-ranked defense going against one of the worst offenses within the Portland Trailblazers. And the same thing can be said. The Spurs, they look to have their way a little bit more so offensively than what the Trailblazers are going to want to do. I really don't find them scoring on Victor Wembanyama that easily, and that's kind of where we're at, right? We know that the Spurs are they come into this game 4th in defensive rebounds, 13th in offensive rebounds, 10th in blocks. So this is kind of where we're looking at a team where I really expect the Spurs to have a better showing. I think this is where you can make the argument, but I do think that Portland is the side in this matchup. That's where I'd be on Portland, plus 4.5. That number has dropped from 5.5 open, and we are seeing this total rise from 216.5. So I do lean towards taking Portland plus the points in this matchup on the road against the Spurs, and I would have a play as well towards the under 218.5. Right now, you can find in the market, though, if you do want to shop around, there is a 218.5. So that's kind of where I'm at within my leans on the side and total. However, when it comes down to betting this game, we are going to look at it from a prop market. Like I said, I really do like the Stephen Castle play. We cashed that last night. He has not hit any assists, 1 assist in 3 of his last 5 games and 0 in 2 of the last 5. And right now the books are catching on as we see this number has increased to minus 163 in the market. I'm still taking it under 2.5. This is a great dance partner within kind of what if you want to form a same game parlay, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, because there are a lot of things within this NBA slate that I like, a lot that I don't like. I don't really, quite frankly, like the other games going on, but I am going to be taking the Spurs game. I'm all about this action tonight that we have going on, and the next bet that we're going to make within this game, okay, is going to be along the lines of Victor Wembanyama. I'm going to pull him up here so I can show you guys which prop market I'm going into within good old Victor. And it's right here, guys. We are going to look into the market where we talk about points, rebounds. Points and rebounds. Okay. And this is one where it's glaring to me in his last 5 games and even last 10, really, if you want to date back. But this is where we look into the points and rebounds market. 36.5 is the number set tonight. I think that's just way too high. Okay. And right now you can see that if you want to find an alt, wait for it. This is looking to be dropping Okay. Um, it's something where you can find 35.5, but 36.5 minus 120. That's what we're going to be betting. That's my best bet of the day, to be honest. I think this is where we could see a little um, potential game where we just get another 100 score, very low scoring. So in taking into consideration the points and rebounds, averaging 25.8 on the season, we can get this number under 36.5. I know it's a plus matchup for Wembayana. He's basically going to be doing his thing, but for me, guys, you look at his last 5 games, he's only eclipsed this once and going over it by just 1 point or rebound. So this is my best bet of the night. Victor Wembayana, we will be going under 36.5 points and rebounds. Okay. And this is where we're going to get freaky with it. We're going to get a little same game parlay action because I do like a lot of bets. This one, you're going to have to pick which one of the Wembies you do like because I also am a fan. If you don't like that one, the rebounds and assists. Okay. This is where we would go over 15.5. Not really too much in love with this, but it is something where you look at them 15.5. Like I said, guys, I think this is a Wemby game. You see 15.5 within rebounds and assists, but I don't necessarily see it with the points. Okay. So this is another avenue where I could have some exposure to Wembayana. Personally, I like the under 36.5 points and rebounds more. Let me know down below in the comments which one that you guys prefer. Typically, I don't like to play star players in the prop market unless it's some kind of advantage for me. Quite frankly, I think that a lot of times you do get inflated lines. So if you like unders, okay, wait. If you like overs, bet it early. That's just kind of the rule of thumb, especially when it comes to props where you do get a lot of people last minute just running to the window, getting out their phones before tip off and getting in the action. Okay. But this is kind of where I'm at. I think rebounds and assists in terms of this market, I think Wemby goes off. So it's kind of a hedge. We'll maybe middle this one if you bet them individually over the 15.5 rebounds and assists. I just think it's a great matchup. And this is something where I know the numbers don't back it up. Where if you look in his last 5 games against Houston, he had 6 and 9 and 10. But this is something where I think that this is where, like I said, against a a Trailblazers team that really just does not get it done in terms of rebounds. I think this is where they're going to have the definite edge. Okay. And this is kind of where you have to put it together versus bottom 10 defenses for assists allowed. Wembayana is averaging 21.3 rebounds and assists per game average. This is dating back in 6 straight games versus bottom 10 defenses. Okay. So a little bit of a play against the recency, but it's a play against the trend. Where you look at bottom 10 defenses. That's kind of how I take in consideration a lot of prop picks, and that will be my second one for the evening. So 3 props in the Spurs game. So I pretty much could have made this a Spurs dedicated video because that's quite frankly my favorite game to bet, and that's probably where we're going to end up incorporating all these in a lot of same game in a same game parlay here. A little action there. So that's where I'm at. Okay, next game out is Utah in Milwaukee. In full disclosure, I know that the under PR and the over rebounds and assists kind of contradict itself, but it does leave out that points angle. So it's almost a hedge in a way if you do bet them straight. Just saying, but I also think there is a world where both of those do hit. I think that 36.5 is way too high. So that's where I'm at with all that. Okay. And that's kind of where we're going to get into the next game within Utah and Milwaukee. Okay. This is one where this number is way too big. It's way too big. Way too big, way too big, way too big. Okay, Milwaukee at home. I know the narrative, but Giannis still, looking to get back on the horse here. And I'll tell you one thing though, Milwaukee's taking it off the chin, and this is when you really got to start hitting the panic button. Okay, 1-6 on the season, 2-5 ATS. They have been a very strong team to the over, and that's probably the direction that I'm going to go to. And the odds makers know as well, as we see 229.5. Maybe a tick too low, okay? But we do get the Utah Jazz coming in this game, 5-2 on the season. And this is where we saw performances recently against the Chicago Bulls, 135-126 for Utah. Denver, they got up above this number. So we have cleared 229.5 quite a bit here. And this is something where in the last 2 games straight, Utah has cleared that number. You can't really compare that too often because pace of play, defense, all that stuff does kind of change from game to game. So don't get too caught up into the recent games in terms of looking at trends, because a lot of NBA defenses and effort, I should say, they should have a metric for effort that kind of exceeds a lot of expectations sometimes. And does not live up to them as well. But anyways, I digress. Let's get into kind of what we're going on. I think this is a firm play where we could see an over. I would lean over in this spot. I think that these teams both love cashing the overs, and I just worry about the Bucks at home. The game potentially has some overtime potential. 1-6 teams going against one. I mean, how in the hell can the Milwaukee Bucks, okay, just playing with a banged up Giannis and Middleton's out, Damian Lillard, and here we go. This is where we look at both of these teams, 1-6 on the season, and the odds makers are laying 9.5 against the Utah Jazz. I just can't get down with that. I think the over is the way to play. I've been getting stung by being on the right side of a lot of props and sides, and then these games get out of hand in the fourth quarter. So it's just a lot of points to lay in the NBA. Okay, 9.5 for two teams that collectively through 12 games have 2 wins. This is a definite stay away game. It seemingly looks like that the money is moving towards the over, as well as towards the side of the Utah Jazz. I'm sorry, towards the side of the Milwaukee Bucks, as we're seeing both of those numbers rise. So kind of where I'm at. I don't love anything except that. And I quite frankly can't get down with any of the props because you just don't know if this is going to be a blowout. And this is kind of a stay away game for me, but I do lend towards taking the over as well as if I had to. I mean, it's you're almost begging me to take the Utah Jazz. So it's a definite stay away game for me. Okay. And the last game on the card, Minnesota and the Chicago Bulls. This one's interesting for a lot of reasons. Most notably, if we look into this game, all right, Chicago has been kind of that team. I am working on something where I do get a little window up into the side of the screen where I have a stay away bet list. We're gonna have it's gonna be like Santa's naughty list. We're gonna have some players and teams that we just do not bet. That's currently being developed here in the NBA as the season unfolds. And right now, as we look at the Bulls, plus 280 on the money line. The Minnesota Timberwolves 4-3. Horrible cover team though. Okay, 2-5 against the number, and this is where you look into kind of that overhype, right? Oh, bring in Towns, bring in DiVincenzo. This is the Minnesota Timberwolves that were this close to bringing home that finals, and then boom, all of a sudden, there's some regression because this is what the odds makers do. They love inflated teams. And I'm not saying that the Minnesota Timberwolves will not be around in the postseason, but I'm saying right now in this moment in time, let's just tap the brakes a little bit and call it what it is at face value. We can look at these rankings as we talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves. These are bottom of the pack in scoring. They don't really need to score, quite frankly. Third in 3-point percentage, which you don't want to rely on 3-pointers because that could be lightning in a bottle for another team that should not have any business contending with you. And then all of a sudden they stay in the game because you're missing your shots and shooting, 25, 30%, from the field in the first half. And then it becomes almost unobtainable to cover a big number such as the 8 that we're seeing right now. Defensively for the Bulls, okay, this has been kind of the narrative. They can rebound the basketball. But this is something where it's kind of interesting because if you look at their offensive rebound statistic on defense, their offensive rebounds, they're 6th in the NBA. Defensive rebounds, they're number 1. But overall, total rebounds, they're 28th in the NBA. That doesn't make a lick of sense. So we're going to look at these statistical categories individually. I think this is a spot where Chicago can play ball, okay? And if we want to talk about it a little more in depth, Chicago, they got bludgeoned by Dallas last night, losing by 20. Now they go back on a back-to-back, going home and hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves, where Minnesota right here in this spot where they do have to hit the road, and this is where they're going to have a very short trek playing at Chicago. And I just think that, quite frankly, this game is a stay away as well. I don't feel comfortable laying 9 on Minnesota, despite Chicago being on a back-to-back. And I don't bet for or against Chicago. So this is a stay away game for me. If I did lean towards anything, okay, guys, this is pretty much where I'm at on this. It's where you have to lend towards the argument. I just think that the points are way too much. Okay. I know Chicago's on a back-to-back, but I just trust Chicago a little bit better. They don't turn over the ball. It's something where you look in kind of what they're able to do. And these teams are more similar than they're not outside of the logos on the jersey. Giddey's health is in question. I know he does have a kind of an illness going on, but I do think that the Bulls at home are a better value play. 8.5 is probably the best number that you can find. But for me, guys, it's just something where I just don't, quite frankly, look into in any advantage in taking the Timberwolves on the road, despite Chicago being on a back-to-back. So this is kind of why I'm here, and I have a lot of plays within the Spurs because this is a stay away spot for me in 2 of these 3 games, and that's kind of how I do it. It's a shorter NBA slate, so I'm just focusing in on that Portland San Antonio game, and we're going to absolutely be ready to go for the full slate. These shorter slates are great for fantasy, great for some daily fantasy, but for betting purposes, I think you can really hone in and just take your shots, and that's the smarter way to go about it, in my opinion. Some people like to bet the board. That's not how I do things here, and I'm not going to give out picks just to give them out. I don't like the Utah-Milwaukee game, and I don't like the Chicago-Minnesota game, so I'll give you guys leans, but my better plays are within the Portland-San Antonio, and those will be my official ones that I do lock in. So just to reiterate kind of those plays, I am going to pull up for you guys what we have going on. And some days I'm going to do this, some days I'm not, but we will be playing the Wembyana under 36 and a half points and rebounds, over 15.5 rebounds and assists. And Stephen Castle, we're going right back to it. We're going to lay the damn juice, minus 163. It's a horrible bet. But why not? It's been hot. It's been cashing. So I'm going to bet this because it's been paying for me over the last 5 games. So I'm going to bet this until it loses. It's kind of what you have to do. We're going to ride a wave. Never bet against a streak to stop. And then also taking the under 218.5 in the San Antonio Portland game. So just the only plays I got tonight are in the Portland San Antonio market. We do have a lean as we look into Utah and Milwaukee. I like the over in that game. In Minnesota, Chicago, I would lean towards taking Chicago on a back-to-back. So that's where I'm at. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Good luck with your picks. We will have a lot of videos. I'm actually going to Vegas this weekend for a betting tournament. So, yeah, if you guys are there, hit me up. But this is where it's going to be a little bit weird. We will be getting some content live from the strip, some sportsbook stuff. So hopefully you guys all subscribe for more and stay in tune for more updates along the way. Like I said, guys, let's go get it. Let's cash some tickets. We'll see you guys all tomorrow in the next video. Cheers.